Yes, it's a non-profit organization, meaning that everything that we do is not for profit, but for the environment and for improvement of our world.
San Diego has many canyons and creeks. This is just a little tiny portion of it. There's at least over 200 canyons in San Diego. So, we're branching out, we're expanding, we're aiming to restore more and more canyons, as we're growing. We're a young organization. We've only been around since 2008. So, our goal is to expand and, continue to restore these canyons. We actually have some contracts that, go on for as long as 20 years. So.
20 years?
Yeah. So, we have to maintain our restoration areas, to look over our sites, things like that, to make sure things are still doing okay.
We have in the city of San Diego dozens of canyons, which look a lot like this right here, that haven't been developed because they have steep slopes and the water rushes through them when it rains. The native vegetation has deep roots, and when it rains, the water that runs off of the streets and off of our yards and lawns has pesticides and fertilizers and grease and tire dust and brake dust, all this car droppings, if you will, that becomes like a toxic spike when it rains. It gets funneled through the storm drains into the canyons, and if the canyons have native vegetation with deep roots, that helps to filter the vegetation, the plants with deep roots that go deep into the ground, helps to absorb and filter that urban runoff before it gets to the creek and then down to our coast. Well, we're taking on a leadership role in raising awareness about the canyons and about our natural ecosystems and why they're important, and getting people involved. So we're community organizers, and we're educating people on understanding the values of our natural resources. We're building appreciation and awareness.
These plants for shelter, they can't, some plants you'll see growing with each other. These plants don't allow them to do that. Okay. And they don't have natural predators because the animals didn't really grow a taste for this stuff for the most part. So it ends up growing really, really thick, like you see all this stuff, and it just smothers all the native species that our wildlife and our other plants need.
They're learning what the problems are in our canyons too. We have invasive non-native plant species that are all over our canyons. We need to get that out so we can restore the native vegetation and the natural plants that should be here. They work to get people involved to do that. They do that themselves. Clean up the trash. Sometimes there's trash in our creeks that also gets blown in by the wind and washed in by the rain and dumped in by some community members that don't care, dump things into the canyons. Non-native plant species has a way of being aggressive and taking over habitat that the wildlife depend upon to survive. It's their food, their shelter, their foraging areas, and they need the native habitat for our natural native flora and fauna to survive.
You can see, here's our major canyon, Manzanita Canyon, Hollywood Canyon's right here, Swan Canyon, Olivia 47th Street Canyon. We have 2 miles of Torres Creek in City Heights that we take care of. We have 2 friends groups there. We had a special project over here at Auburn Creek, which ties into Torres Creek. So, we have all these wonderful open space areas. And it's a huge responsibility to take care of them, but they're so valuable for the community to give us nature walks and hikes and to have nature right in our backyard. And then here's what Swan Canyon looked like before we got all the arundo.
It was huge.
And arundo is just such a horrible invasive thing, but we finally got all this out, and also there was a big stand of it in Olivia Canyon. And here we have the volunteers removing it from Olivia Canyon. They had to cut it, they put it on tarps, they drag it up to the edge to put it in a dumpster. So it took a couple of years to get all of that out by just people coming again and again and again.
Let's do gather around here.
All good work. We love our volunteers.
So that we maintain the natural native vegetation, natural habitat, and make sure that the non-native plant species don't take over the whole thing, because that would displace the wildlife that depend on that. Just for an example, you You can see the woodlands that are growing along the stream, along Choyas Creek right here. That's called a riparian woodland. It's a kind of a wetland. 90% of our riparian woodlands and wetlands are gone. We only have 10% left. And the plant species and animal species that depend upon those habitats during their life cycle are also endangered and threatened. So that's an endangered habitat right there.
Our urban canyons, you can see they're used for many reasons. A lot of people come here to walk their dogs, to go running, or just go for a nice hike and enjoy the scenery. We have a new 5-mile loop trail that's been in place for our City Heights Canyon, so it's just a great way to be outdoors and in nature, because for another reason is a psychological benefit is being outdoors. It actually lowers levels of cortisol, which is the chemical that kind of induces stress. So being outdoors kind of helps that, and helps you be more focused, lowers risks of depression and things like that.
I think that the reward of participating and volunteering here is that first of all, you get in touch with nature. I feel like I'm in the library most of the time, and yeah, I'm inside, so I don't have the opportunity to go out and get in touch with nature and my habitat and environment. So it's very peaceful, and I find just contentment in being here, away from the city life, the cars, being away from my books, and just immersing myself in service.
Canyonlands has settled on trying to restore our natural environment, and to the degree that we link people to that natural environment, there's a social benefit for that. And it helps the community, it helps the children learn to be ambassadors and to be stewards of that natural environment so that we have sustainability.
My name is Jacqueline Poole. I'm not from the San Diego area, but I wanted to give back to the San Diego area. I think every single person has a duty to the environment, because we get all these things from the environment. We get food, we get natural resources. We have soil retention helps us from getting our homes destroyed. People who live on cliffs and stuff. So yeah, I think we have a duty because the earth does so much for us.
When there's a need like that, people coalesce and form together to help.
I believe that cities, and especially myself, that your community is responsible, because we're the ones inhabiting this environment and living here, and we should definitely be responsible, and it not just only a responsibility, but a civic duty to take care of our community. If there's an opportunity to, I definitely would come back. I would want to contribute more, especially to this community that I'm so fortunate enough to live in.
Because look at the beautiful world we were given. I mean, it astounds me. A sunset, then all the diverse bird species and animal species. It just amazes me the kind of world we have. And so no, I'm not getting tired. I'm just getting some bigger things on my bucket list done before it's all said and done for me.
Even if it's just a small bit, I think that if we all come together, we can do really big stuff. People are busy, so they might feel oh, they can't do the biggest things, but then really every little thing counts. Even just one day out here, you can see how much of a difference we made in one day, just picking